Good morning. Today's activity that I'm going over or starting is my observing video for my Lamar University Master's program. The activity that I will be observing today is our faculty staff meeting that we'll have this morning. It will last about a half hour, and the different activities that we will go over during this meeting will be our calendar schedule for the upcoming week. We're near the end of December, and so we've got just a couple of weeks left before the current term is out. And so the administration will go over that. We'll go over a number of other activities going on. We oftentimes have plays, concerts, things of that nature. I'm at a public charter high school that focuses in the performing arts, so we don't have any sports or anything of that nature. Other things we'll be doing during the meeting is going around the room and gathering information from the staff based on the previous week and the upcoming week, and what we want to accomplish, goals as a staff or individually, things like that. Other things we will go over is policies to do with the school if we've got changes coming up, things that we want to try differently in the upcoming quarter or semester based on things that have changed in the past. For example, we have a uniform, student uniforms at our school, so we're constantly talking about that and going over changes that can be involved there. Other things that we'll go over, the special ed director will usually take some time in the meeting. Depending on the week, it's possible that she will or she won't, but that's usually a pretty common thing for her to do, and so I'll be observing and listening, taking notes on these different areas from our faculty. And then something we've covered lately quite often in our meetings has been at-risk students, generally behavior or students with attendance issues. As we, of course, come to the end of a quarter, that can be a big problem in any school with students trying to do restitution and catch up. Other things that we will cover or likely cover in the meeting will be things to do with guidance. So the guidance counselor will take some time, and again that kind of fills in some of that at-risk time, but that's something we focused on the past 2 or 3 meetings. Recently our principal has focused on spending a lot of our faculty staff meeting time doing kind of going over POC work. We have focused this year, as the principal is new to the school, on looking at our different goals, things that we want our students to accomplish, kind of top 10 ideas for what they should be able to accomplish during a class, which can be, kind of hard depending on the subject. But we've been working on that quite a bit. And then finally, other things we'll go over will be different, probably insurance things of that nature. And that's about it. So here we go. We're going to go into the meeting and get me observing and taking notes on everything. So here we go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's Verizon time, 7:30. Welcome to. Good morning. Good to see you. Happy to be here. We would like to excuse Mr. Brown, who's taking care of a funeral today for someone in his congregation. Miss Weeks is in Salt Lake. and we are taking care of things. So let's take a quick look, first of all, at there is a little snack. If you have not taken it. Take a quick look at the calendar to start with. We do have very little remaining. But if we look at finishing up today, Garland tonight, and we'll just do the shout out right now. If you haven't had a chance, it's great. I could coin a phrase to say that is the best program I've ever seen, but I won't. It's a fantastic program, and you get to see, again, amazing thing about these shows for me, and I think it is for you too, you get to see kids sing and do things that you did not know they had within them. JP's group features a wide variety of soloists, a little bit solos, but it's just awesome to see why some of these kids are here. They do have a love for what they're doing. Kyle is also, he left after the show last night and drove to Los Angeles. So again, so kudos to JP and Annie for all the work they've done there. Kyle as well with Hyperion, and anyone else who happened to jump in and help. So it's a great show. The house was mostly filled last night, and people really enjoy it. It's less than an hour.
Yeah. It's like
no intermission. It just cruises right along. And a nice personal touch is the kids share little family traditions of their Christmas and holiday seasons. It's really a nice show. Feels good, looks good, and as long as costumes don't get thrown away.
They pick like something to work for that.
Yeah.
She just
To watch any of
Yeah,
you who have Josh France as a student, to watch him up there performing, oh my gosh, JP, you did so good with him. And
That's Annie. That's all Annie.
Oh my
Annie
gosh,
staged him in a
was
good
so
spot.
good.
Like at one point, Josh becomes the sleigh kind of thing during sleigh ride. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. So.
But it's great because his face is so expressive. My husband, who didn't know about Josh when he watched it last night, he's like, he's so animated. You can tell he just loves it up there because his facial expressions were just great. So definitely go see it. It was a great show.
And shout out to Tristan as well, because Tristan's in 2 groups, and I was telling Kyle yesterday, it's almost like he takes on different personalities in each group. Like I was saying, like MDT2 Tristan is kind of more approachable. Like, he kind of is like, he's the nice guy, and then, but Hyperion Tristan is kind of like dangerous, and like, he's a ladies' man almost, like, anyway, I have like a backstory in my head.
Excellent. So let's just kind of cruise then through the rest of the week. I think then all performances will be completed today, just in time for finals. Next week we'll run a regular schedule Monday through Thursday, and your testing schedules, we'll try to keep everything quiet. Friday is a Menembly day, so you'll have 4 classes of the A-B day, and they'll be like 35 minutes-ish. And then let's back up to Thursday. In your box, we have our guest lecturer. Let me just grab one of those.
There's one in mine.
So our assembly for the kids on Friday is Bob Patel, and Bob is a kind of an international, curious work. He's a motivational speaker, can talk well about achieving your dreams and overcoming obstacles, etc. But he also is a freakish memory specialist guy who many college football teams throughout the country use him to help students or help their athletes remember all the plays and succeed in the classroom so they can be eligible. And so he's going to do a special program on Thursday for you. Thursday after school, be an hour and a half-ish, depending on how much you want to engage with him. But he'll share with you some of the things that you can use personally, but you can also help your students with in terms of memorization and memory and how to associate.
He was the keynote speaker at our leadership camp this year.
You very well could have been.
Yeah,
He's,
and man, he teaches you some really good stuff about memorization. Like,
Yeah, he's Trump, and he typically does the corporate thing for Fortune 500 companies, but also is involved in. And this is his give back. He's basically just coming down to be involved with high school students at cost. He doesn't really charge much other than to cover his overnight stay and travel. So great guy, and so you get that Thursday night, Bob Cattell. Here in the black box we'll use, and then Friday he will do his more motivational spiel to the. He can't do the memory thing in that big of a group; it doesn't really work, and so that'll happen on Friday. Then we are going to have the potluck barbecue on Friday as well. So plan on sticking around a little bit after we send the kids off, and we'll have our own little more intimate Christmas party, and more details on that will follow. But plan on bringing something, and I don't know if she'll have. We'll have the main dish here, so it'll be side things, whether it's soda or chips or
A salad or dessert or fruits.
So, okay, so that's the schedule. Anything anybody else concerned about? Then we're off, not coming back until January 5th.
Yep.
Okay, yay.
It's amazing, isn't it?
I want to take just a second to talk to you a little bit about insurance. Kent's not here, but I know some of you may have some questions or concerns. Let me tell you where I am personally in terms of, so some of you will be just like mine. I had the HSA before, the HSA account, and now we have the equity. So this is where your money has gone for your deductible, right? So you should continue to spend down if you haven't already done. So your purple HSA card till it's gone. Right now, my card has been charged, so I suspect yours should be. There should have been $1,999. I believe that the $1 available. We were given $2,000, but the $1 is not available because I think it has to be there to maintain the account open. It says you have a deposit of $2,000, but you do have available $1,999. Now, just so that you understand, were you to experience some kind of medical loss, say tomorrow, and it was $3,500 that expenses that you incurred. Well, of course, $1,999 of that's going to come out of your current HSA. We're not planning on funding the second half of your $4,000 until July. But all you would have to do is bring those receipts showing that you've had to spend part of your HSA reimbursement. Bring it to Kent, and he will reimburse you before you even have to pay it, because you'll have a 30-day cycle on your thing, and you can get the bill and bring it. So you shouldn't, so if you were to be unfortunate to have that, or you have regular medical medicines, etc., that get into that, you can bring those in and get reimbursed in advance. The idea, however, is that many of you may not need that, and so we'll just fund it twice. Okay? Any questions on the HSA and the
Ryan,
the equity card?
So on the purple HSA card, that card will be good until you spend whatever balance you
Yes.
have on it.
Yeah, so the old card, it's just like a gift card. I mean, it will, I guess if there's an expiration date on that and you still had a balance, they would send you another card for you to, re-up. But I imagine most of you would spend that down first, so that you don't have to worry about having two cards.
So we have a new account with the $2,000.
Yes, and so
Okay.
if you
That's
haven't
not what Ken told me yesterday.
if you haven't received a new card that looks like they're almost the same color, they are the same color, but
So it's new though, okay.
but it says home equity. It says equity on it.
And we should have received it.
Yes.
Yeah, if you have not received it, then I would contact.
I got mine about 2 weeks ago.
And if you've lost it, you may want to.
Haven't gotten yours. I can show you mine.
There it is.
That's it.
So this is the old one, it's got the big HSA, and then this is the new one, but they are very comparable in, go there.
Yeah, I don't have one at all. Like, I didn't take anyone. You did.
I got mine.
Okay,
Did anybody else?
so this is where, here's what happened with mine. Last year when we did this,
Some of us are already switched over.
some of you may already be switched
Some
over.
of us are already switched over.
That is correct.
Because
That's right. I'm the oddball. There were only a
I'm the
couple of us
oddball,
that
yeah.
didn't go over to the new guys. Remember, you guys had all the problem getting it funded
yeah,
last year.
we're already switched over because I'm already funded on.
They had already funded a few of ours, and so we stayed. So if you have a card that looks like that, you're good, and it should have the money in it.
Okay, so
No.
more card looks like that than they added the.
Just add it to
The
this
2,000 should have gone into this one.
Most of us got this card last year.
I'm like with Ryan.
The number is different than mine.
We were on the old.
Oh.
That's right. You and I, Ryan, are different.
Okay. No freaking out.
All right, well,
You're not gonna get
I'm
it.
glad I could clear that up for you this morning, get your heart started. I would like to just make one comment about Alive and Well. Alive and Well is changing on our side as well as on their side. Simply put, the school is essentially continuing to support you in Alive and Well by funding your HSA account a little bit more richly, and allowing you the choice to use that money there if you wish, or if you don't, then you use it somewhere else. And so Alive and Well isn't officially being covered by the school anymore, except if you choose to use your HSA benefit. The HSA or the Alive and Well program is morphing just a little bit. You will still be able to have access to it if you choose. They'll do a pre-tax deduction withdrawal and pay that premium for you. They're going to move towards more. They may not come out here because they may not have enough to come out here, but they'll still be available on the phone. They'll still be available for home visits. Still be available, et cetera, to meet your needs there. So that's kind of where it is. You're paid through the end of this month with the way it has been. Starting in January, that will change just a little bit. So there's still some questions on exactly what their plan is going to look like. Essentially, it'll be the same people. Your access just may not be quite as convenient here at the school. All right?
Will
So
they be contacting us or you?
JP is supposed to be getting the plan description,
Okay.
and then
You mean JR?
JR, yeah. Don't
JR.
JR.
He's like, yeah, I don't know. Why don't you just take that?
I don't think I will. Okay.
Okay, just a moment about uniforms. I sense I guess nobody knows your pain as much as I do, but the pants thing is just. I understand it's a mess. From the waist up, they're in pretty good shape. Pants, again, still the absolute are just the leotard legging things. But there's such a spectrum of where we are now in kind of the stretchy, almost stretchy, but they have pockets and they look like pants, but they're really stretchy versus just the flat. This is a dance leotard thing. Okay, so right now, I'm sorry, all I would tell you is be vigilant on the dancy things and
Sweats, obviously.
and sweats, unless they are, you're starting to see a few more of the warm-up suit around,
But that's okay.
and those are fine. Please allow them to wear those any and all times. What we are seeing now is a lot more, it's like, oh, I see a lot of kids wearing beanies, therefore I can wear my beanie of choice. Please try and just have them not wear those beanies. Overall bachelor stuff is in there, your bachelor degrees are in there, but some of your graduate work's not in there. And so not only does it help us in the cactus in terms of reimbursement, but it also will benefit you as this movement towards a kind of a fixed fee or a pay schedule goes into place. And how you fit into that then depends on what we can look into Cactus and verify as your credentials.
How long has this school been open?
The school opened in 1999.
Are we on year 16 or is it year?
I think this is year 16. Because 99, 2000 was the
Yeah.
first year.
So any questions there? And again, this is I'm just going to say this. This is an evolution. This is a process that's going to tweak and move towards hopefully what will be a reasonable, fair, competitive, where am I, where can I go if I choose to get a master's degree, where would that put me, that you can anticipate some of those things. So
You guys gonna have a ceiling?
this I do not know.
Only where teachers are concerned, not for staff.
Yes.
Just so we're clear. Just so we're clear. Okay.
Okay, Ms. Hickman has the...
Yeah, it says total number of years teaching in public schools, so this is K through 12, that's it?
I would, if you have some collegiate experience, list that as well.
So do I add that to?
I would add it as a separate, just add it as a separate line, so that you get, anything that's a little bit unique to you. Again, my educational background is, professional doctorate, which is, is a different bird. But, it's 160 credits, which is wonderful. Yes. Any other questions on this? All right. Let's take about 3 minutes and talk about the absolute one student that you are the most, not that we already know about, but is, been through, we're having meetings on and risk team meetings. Is there someone that you think might be falling through the cracks that you're worried about, whether it's emotionally, academically, any of the above? Anybody got somebody that you just really are anxious or worried about?
Jade Jessup.
I was just concerned. Kevin and I were talking about Savannah Holt yesterday. We've got a couple days here, and frankly,
Yeah, there's some.
There's
situation.
some personal life
Some
stuff going
personal
on.
life things going on, but I was just concerned
They
about
both, she and her sister have both been added to the Southwest mental health bachelor coming, so that's in place for them.
and
So that's-
and they have family that they're with right now.
Yeah,
Their
they're
dad.
with their dad.
Oh, okay, very good. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So, yes.
I've seen Jade like 7 days this whole quarter.
Who's that?
8 days.
Yeah,
Jade
that's
Jessup.
Okay.
Like she's gonna fail my class. I literally 7 days.
Okay. Any word on?
No,
She
Jade
just
just
doesn't
doesn't.
come. I don't know what's going on.
But she'll come on one day but not come the next day. Come on one day and not come the next day.
So that you know, we have this at-risk committee that will meet and review anything from, absenteeism, what's going on there, to mental health, to, special circumstances, 504, whatever. But the purpose of that committee is to try to help you, and help the students succeed here. And so if you have these concerns, you can just do a SpiceWorks referral to any member of the team, or not a SpiceWorks, sorry. Just
Really?
Yeah, Shane will come and take care of it. So we will, we have been fairly active at, again, helping students
That was a little Freudian slip.
get what they need. Some of them are waiting to come back, and it's this committee that will review their reentry. You've seen a few emails that I put out in the last couple of days regarding some students with some illnesses. There are 504-like conditions that are preventing them from being here. When I say be as liberal as you can, I'm just asking if there's anything that you can do to, if the student recovers and is anxious and willing and wanting to make up the work. I know most of you will come their way a little bit. That's all I'm asking. I'm not asking you to dismiss work that kids totally blew off while they were here, and et cetera, et cetera. I mean, we need to delineate between where the teenager and the disability or the illness are. But we do seem to have a rash of them right now, and If the student is willing to bounce back and come at it, please be willing to give them some time. We have to give them some time. Whether or not you choose to give them any reduced or minimize any of the assignments, that's totally up to you. But we do have the element of about a 1 to 3. Every day they miss, they get 3 days to make up. And so some of these kids are, they're well into more time than what would be practical or feasible for them to use. So that's why we're just kind of setting some deadlines. Ty Clem, the 9th of January.
Yes.
Uh,
Sorry.
So the Carl Clem is one, the 9th. If he gets it together and he's got the extra time, if you can get him anything to work on over the holiday break, that would be great.
Who was that?
Ty Clem.
That was Sean.
And who was the other one I just put out?
Gabby Rowe.
Gabby Rowe.
And then
Again,
Mitchell Snow is still out.
and we still have it, yeah.
Just as far as he's concerned, I've been sending all my stuff and I haven't seen anything.
Okay.
So it's going home, but he's not doing it. I don't know.
I haven't seen anything come back.
I've
What
sent
about-
everything home and
What about
nothing's
Narissa
come back.
Christensen?
I haven't seen her in ages.
I told her she couldn't be in the showcase because she's missed so much class, and then she missed an after-school rehearsal. And then
But
she came
she's
the
one
next
of
day and
those
she
that I
said,
send
just
regular
forgot."
attendance reports home to her parents. She misses consistently. But I never hear anything back from Kim. I don't hear anything, I don't get excuses. I just get calls saying, did she show up today?
You know what I think we're gonna have to do is just go ahead and, if she's not passing, tell her. And then what I'll do is second semester, it's easier for me to, because she's already behind, and it's easier for me to send her to Southwest. So this, and also Diana Clark, I sent that email out. Okay, so I'm trying to help as much as I can, but at the same time, I think we've exhausted all of our, what we can do for her. It's time for her to actually pick up the ball and start moving forward. And if things don't change, second semester, I'm going to refer her to Southwest.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of giving her this last little break because now we're on the last leg of graduation. It's either time to get it together or we're just not the school to have her graduate. But of course, Diana's plays into everything else emotionally that's going on. If she can't graduate from Tuacahn, then she goes back down into the downward spiral, and it's kind of a mess. So.
Okay, before we go, I just need to take just 1 minute. It was kind of a traumatic week, culminating in one of our faculty leaving last Friday. I just want to say a couple of things. Number one, please be assured that this was a very, very difficult and very, very painful experience for all involved. That let me assure you that what you know is not everything that went into that decision and into that process. That it was something that no one wanted to have happen, and yet it had to. We are in the process of seeking a full-time replacement. We probably have a few interviews on Monday. Anyway, the students, again, have varying opinions, and there's a lot of things going around, but we're just unfortunate. We can't share what we could share if we have the ability to help you understand that process. But ultimately, it went where it had to go. So I appreciate your understanding, your willingness to trust what happened was the only solution that was available to us.
Is it okay to say that he resigned?
Yes.
Well, the kids have been saying that, that he was fired. And I refuted that by saying that, no, he tendered a resignation. So that's all I said, and they said, no, he was fired. And I said, no, he wasn't. Technically, he was not fired, right?
The official position is,
Okay.
yeah, he is, he has tendered a resignation. Under the circumstances, he tendered a resignation. And that's it. And again, I wish we could, help you all understand exactly why and where, but you just have to trust that this wasn't a knee-jerk reaction. This was a process that had been ongoing, and that there were, I believe, give anyone in this room given the same set of circumstances, same information, would have, unfortunately, arrived at the same painful conclusion and decision. And so that's it. Go have a great day.
All right, so we finished up the meeting, and probably went about, again, as I said, a half hour. I spent my time taking notes and go over, kind of listening to those participating in the meeting. The vice principal was the leader of the meeting today. Our principal was not in attendance. So things that we went over, kind of the activity, again, in general, was our faculty staff meeting. And regularly that meeting is usually 45 minutes, sometimes an hour. We do it on Friday mornings at 7 o'clock, and makes for an early start for some. But it was a positive meeting. So general things that we covered that I want to talk about just in reflection from my observations. Again, our vice principal ran our meeting today. And we started out by reviewing the calendar and going over our different items for this week. At this point in the school year, our kind of activity load is pretty light compared to what it usually is, where we're near the end of the second term, and so most of our concerts for Christmas or different things like that have ended up and finished. So we had a few faculty members kind of share their comments on the show from the night before that we had. We had a show over the weekend that was the last of its kind for the quarter, and then talked over upcoming events. We usually take some time with the calendar and go over who's got different needs, what things need to be scheduled, and who needs maybe time for different spaces, like the amphitheater or the smaller black box theater we have, and things like that. So the second thing that we covered was insurance. We made a recent change of insurance companies at our school, which is always interesting. It's always a pretty hot topic of conversation, because changing companies means changing a lot of different things for a lot of different families or individuals. We got that change made for December 1, but we'd been waiting for insurance cards, and so that's been a little interesting. The vice principal took some time explaining kind of the details of our changes and the procedures and how different people will go about using their insurance, where we've got plans to do with we have HSA plans and we have traditional plans. Most of the company is on HSA. But to me, this is an interesting thing as a future administrator, because my school is not really in the local school district, being a charter school, and so we have a board of directors that's kind of our district head, along with our principal, vice principal, and kind of our community council that we have with boosters and other parents that meets monthly. So that's kind of an interesting dynamic to me as I'm going through this program and getting a feel for how being an administrator looks, how it feels in a way, as much as I can at this point. And insurance is a huge thing because it affects everybody on a personal level. And it's affected me each year that I've been here, as we've switched a couple of times during my time at this school, and so that can be frustrating and positive in its own ways, and you have to really be able to work with your staff, your teammates, the faculty, and those in the office with you. And so that's always a really interesting topic to go over. So the third thing we went over in the meeting was uniform policy. And again, being a charter school, we chose to do uniforms when the school opened a few years back. It was the first charter high school in the state of Utah, where I'm at. So we've kind of led the charge on different things. But we went over the policy, and our pants is usually a big problem here, where we've got navy pants, khaki pants, and black, and we have a pretty heavy population of girls, female students at our school because it's performing arts. And as stereotypical as that may or may not sound, that's just the truth of it. And so we oftentimes get a lot of problems with the dance or stretchy looking pants the kids are wearing that are outside of policy. And so one thing I notice regularly as the vice principal kind of runs the discipline most of the time, and goes over uniform policy things, that he is constantly dealing with that, dealing with uniform policy infractions, and so that's a kind of an interesting thing again, as I look at different topics to do with administration, and how that's going to work and affect me, and how to deal with that. He seems to do a pretty good job with that. So the fourth item that we covered in the meeting was a new salary schedule. The local school district has a salary schedule, has always, and that's of course things that I looked at a few years ago when I was looking at jobs in the area. More or less I was looking for which school would hire me in the beginning. But we have decided through the end of last year and this year that we would get a kind of set in stone salary schedule, and the school has not had one of those in the past. They've kind of had a base where you would start when hired, and then depending on kind of years of experience here and there, but it never was a set in stone document. And so that's been, I think, from an administrative perspective, is probably kind of a challenge as you bring somebody in and you're trying to hire people and say we're competitive in comparison to the local school district or other districts in the state, and we can pay you equally or so. And in general, as I've come in and compared to our local school district, I don't feel, I suppose, any more underpaid than any other school teacher probably does in the country. But it's not quite equal. And so I'm grateful that I work at a great school and that I'm happy where I'm at as much as anything. So we'll be reviewing and implementing this new salary schedule. I'm excited about it. I think from an administrative standpoint, again, the positives is you're going to bring people in to hire and look at and say, here's exactly where we're at. Or for me, where this is my fourth year, and I'm doing a master's degree, I'm going to have so many credits done by the end of the school year before the next hiring or next school year pay period starts. This is going to benefit me because I will be able to say, okay, I can move across the scale and move up a step or something like that and increase my pay. Who's not interested in that, of course? And so it'll be good for the staff just to be able to see where they're going to end up at. And so I kind of assumed in advance that in my intro that's one of the things we would go over. We oftentimes spend time, be it 5 minutes or 15 or 20 sometimes, talking about at-risk students. One of our great issues is we have kids that are missing, or throughout this quarter have missed a number of classes. We've had, some that are on a 504, as we call it in this state. I'm not sure what it is in Texas. But basically a health intervention plan where we have a student who has a physical illness who's out for maybe a week, 2 weeks, a month. And so we'll have a plan for them to be able to come back and make up work without too much penalty, or make a plan to be incomplete for the quarter and give them some time into the next quarter to make up the work. And usually those students are those who, again, maybe have an illness, but they wouldn't purposely otherwise miss school. And so this accommodation works perfectly for them. And that's kind of a mix between item 5 and 6 that we went over, because we covered a lot to do with the 504 students, the health issues, and the reasons they've missed school. And so our guidance counselor, or counselors, took some time. We talked about referring students that are at risk and what their options are. We've got one of our students currently that has been gone so much during the quarter that we have a couple other schools in the area that are kind of at-risk high schools that students could go to go make up work, or to kind of finish off a year. Sometimes if they're not going to make enough credits for graduation, they end up going there and doing packets or something like that if they can't kind of handle the regular school schedule that we would have here at the school. Other things that we talked about during this part was we're going to have an at-risk committee for students, and not something we've had in the past. So we'll probably have, of course, administration. We'll have a couple of teacher representatives, and in our case we always have an academic teacher and then a performing arts teacher at a minimum to kind of hit both of those areas. But we'll get that committee together and kind of take names that we get during our faculty and staff meetings and pull those in and say these are the kids we need to focus on, these are the reasons. And so again, I think as an administrator, this is another one of those areas where you look at and say, we've got too many problems with this. We need to pull a committee together. We need to get perspectives from our staff, from our teachers, administration, office, from different areas of the faculty, to see how this student does in different areas. And so I think that's going to be a great committee for us to create and pull together. So again, the 6th item was the 504 kind of health issues accommodation plan that we do, and so I talked about that a little bit. And then the last item we went over, which can be always a touchy subject on any staff, is that kind of course, in a very subtle and quiet, confidential way, we had to let a staff member go this week or the week before. And so in most cases, the things we talked about are that the vice principal kind of related were the fact that we as a staff kind of need to trust the decision that was made, and understand that we as regular faculty or teachers in the school aren't always going to have all the facts. And what a fun thing as a teacher, as an administrator, where you always have students talking about the fact that this teacher got let go or resigned or was fired, or different things, and it's always, of course, a conversational firestorm with the students. And so very interesting thing for me as a future administrator to think of how to tactfully, diplomatically kind of take care of an issue like that. And I appreciated that the administration took the time to talk to us and share as much as they could about the confidential situation that happened. And as I had my interviews with the principal in months past in previous courses in this program, it was interesting to listen to her and talk to her about how sometimes you make these decisions and you have to be the one, or it's just a couple of you, and people are going to come back and they're going to talk about your decision. They're going to be negative, positive, and one way or the other you had to make it. And not everybody's always going to agree with it, and everybody's going to get a different story. And so that's an interesting point to me, and kind of a point definitely to reflect on. It's kind of look at how they handle that and how I might handle that kind of situation in the future myself. So finally, kind of the last thing just to talk about or go over in reference to the Gibbs reflective cycle. I've talked about kind of what happened in our meeting. Some of the feelings that went on really would be, it was a pretty regular meeting. In general, sometimes they are, heated if we're getting into things we're passionate about, and this was a pretty regular meeting. And again, to do with the resignation of a staff member. That was really just an interesting point to do with that. For me, this was a good experience. It was interesting to kind of see the look on the face of the staff as I got started and explained to them what I was doing, and they were, most of them were pretty cooperative. Some of them themselves are doing master's degrees, and so they're understanding of what's going on. So it was a good experience. My feeling kind of the whole situation was that we had a good meeting. We got things accomplished. We were able to talk through different issues and share opinions, and so which is usually a pretty positive thing for us. So really, as an administrator in this case, I would have handled, I think, that meeting just the same way that the vice principal did, very, in a calm way, in a confidential way when it comes to different matters, and professionally, which is, I would think, what you would be expected, or would be expected of you. And so, if this situation, any of these things happened again, I think I would handle them the same way. So. All right, that's the end of my video. Thank you for taking the time. This has been a great program so far to be in, and I look forward to the future courses and other videos. So thanks.